The Grinch.
Bam! We're live. And there's 0 people in here.
Good. They don't see you picking on me. It always says 0 at first, and then all of a sudden it just pops up.
9. There's 9 people in here.
I told
All right. Introduce everybody. To my right is
other
antidote
right.
of a houndsman, Chris Watson. All around houndsman. Above him is John, our spiritual leader. He's here to make sure we keep things straight. And right above me is the bear hunting legend, George Lambert.
Yeah. He's in full cry and everything.
Full
We had to
cry.
call his agent to book him for tonight.
Well, we all had to gather up a bunch of money just to pay him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. His time is valuable.
He's a
Actually,
busy
it's not
man.
even him. It's Scruffy is what it is.
Yeah, people don't care about me. So,
Without Scruffy, he'd be nothing.
yeah.
You better hope Scruffy don't leave you.
Oh yeah, then I'll be in a pickle.
Mm-hmm.
So, George, since you're the one that's really been getting things done, tell us some good stories. I heard a rumor that you treat a bear in somebody's living room.
I want to hear this story.
Was it close?
Nowhere to start. Yeah. Bear stories. We got stories from this week. We got stories from last week. It's been a crazy.
Pick us out a
Yeah.
really, really good one.
Yeah.
I need a good story.
Oh, I probably got better stories from before this hunting season, but
Just gonna
I will say this one. This ain't nothing real crazy, but I took a young boy that had never ever been bear hunting, and it was just one of them crazy days. I don't know. He got out of the truck, went walking with me. We walked about 100 yards, struck a track, trailed it, got it jumped up. He got to watch all the action of it on the ground, fighting dogs and stuff. And then at the same time, my dog split and had another one treed. And then the one that was on the ground, it finally went down off the mountain. Then he went in with me again, and we wiggled in on our hands and knees into a thicket and got the dogs off of it. So he thinks bear hunting is the greatest action-packed, most fun thing ever. From his first day bear hunting, that's how it was.
It's easy, huh?
Yeah, it's easy. You just turn dogs loose, walk 100 yards, turn dogs loose, and you get bear everywhere.
Let me see.
He's got the toughest. He's got the toughest women in his family, from little girls on up, that I've ever seen, Brett.
Toughest what?
Women. His little 9-year-old niece, buddy. She's got sugar. She's got a pump already, an insulin pump already. She walked over 2 miles into the woods, straight up to a bear tree.
I'll be.
And that bear come out, and she went up over the mountain to go find another bear. I mean, I'm like, I'm not going. I said, I'm going back to the truck.
So, John, you hunted with George for a couple days, or?
Yeah, I got to hunt with him for a couple of days. I hope I get to go back and hunt some more. So.
And you got to see a couple bears in the tree?
Got to see a couple bears in the tree. Got to see that one come out. And I got to see Mr. Scruffy put him right back up. And the bear came right back out. But Scruffy, he did. Scruffy said, nope, go back up.
He likes to reach up and bite one in the hind end?
It looked like he was trying to bite this one in the hind end.
He don't mind.
And Scruffy is famous. He's in Full Cry magazine.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, you ought to read the story. It's crazy. It does describe him to a T, honestly. But Bear Sagasa has a great way with words. So, and it describes Scruffy to a T.
Yeah, I seen that on Facebook, and I don't know why I hadn't subscribed to Full Cry yet, so I went ahead and I bought a 2-year subscription. I hope I
Yeah.
get the issue that has Scruffy in it so I can read it.
Well, what I'm seeing is that you can't get it, that it's sold out right now. So I'm begging. I've been on Facebook begging anybody that's got one to sell it to me when they get done with it. So, and I can't find it.
I'll,
I can't find anybody to commit to sell it to me yet. So.
I'll Xerox it and mail it to you.
Okay, guys, we all got to be on our best behavior because Mr. Benny Griffith is here.
Oh, the star of the show.
Yeah, right.
Don't say anything to make him mad, guys.
That's your
We better not.
job, Brett.
I'm pretty easy.
Easy, yeah. So what's going on, Mr. Benny?
Well, I got to work on a crusher all day long.
Nice.
I got doused with diesel this morning from the top of the crusher to the top of the pickup to all of me, and then I got to replace a gearbox, and it's a beautiful day.
So you got a lot of brakes?
Yeah, it's called broken parts.
That was a joke because it's a crusher.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Cool. Well, we got George here.
You got a full house.
We do. George
He's pointing in the opposite way too. You got to watch him.
Oh.
Yeah.
George has taken some time out from catching bears to talk to us. And then we got John right below you. And of course Chris over here. So we're trying to get George to tell us a bear hunting story.
He hauled down around about it too.
He just
so
kept
many of them. He didn't,
telling us he had too many to just pick one out.
Yeah. Just make one up. Just make one up. It don't matter.
I will. There's one when I remember when I might have told you about this one when I was younger. We had a bear go around the side of the mountain, went down in a hole. It ended up being a cave, but looked like a big groundhog hole. When you go up to it, the dogs just, lost all. Basically, we walked to the last place we ever had communication with them and realized it was I don't know, hole was probably 12, 13, 14 inches wide. Just enough where I went in head first, and I had to take my belt off because my belt kept getting stuck on the edges. But anyway,
so that means me and Benny probably went fit in it.
Yeah, they gave me, I can't remember if it was toilet paper or something, and I stuck that in my ears and a 9mm pistol. I had to go down and hold the dogs out.
Did you
9mm to go in there with a bear?
Yeah, I wouldn't even. Yeah. I've seen cop stories where they shot people 15 times. The 9mm guy still came after him.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think
Did you use it on the bear at all?
I didn't have to use it. Bear was on back in their ways, and I was able to get most of the dogs met us at the hole when we started yelling for them, and I was able to get in there and get the last couple off without having to fire shots. So it worked out good.
So, I mean, you've been treeing about a bear a day, right?
Probably average. Some days we're catching a couple, but basically a bear day. Yes, sir.
I mean, there's that many bears there?
Are you treating a couple? Are you treating the same too? Do you treat the same bear?
Same two bears every day.
Maybe it's what it is. Got to untie him first.
We're hunting a big, some days we might be 20 miles from the place I hunted basically the day before. Depending on how, and we're not killing any. I mean, I think we've killed one or so, and in our harvest season, we can legally take a bear right now. No problem. This is what everybody saves all their days for and all that, but we're just not. I'm gonna have to probably get somebody to harvest one before too long because some of the older guys in my group, they're getting they said their trigger finger's getting a little itchy. So they're the old school where they think that
Dog got to
they
chew on a bear.
dogs got to chew on a bear. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Are, John, are you
we
going to go back and hunt with him?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Do you have a
I'm hoping.
license? Could you harvest one?
Oh yeah, I told him I'd be
There you
tickled
go.
to death to pull the trigger on one. Now
There.
I
As
could have
long
went and I could have went and pulled the trigger on one that day for his uncle, but they kept talking about how hard of a walk it was going to be in there, and I'm like, yeah, it's getting late in the day. I don't know if I want to go in there or not. And then I got to talk to his
Johnny's
mom.
waiting for the one on the side of the road.
Hey, we had one in somebody's yard.
right in their
It would
living
have
room.
it would have fell in the driveway, but no, it was a rough walk. His aunt and uncle both went in there, and they talked about being down on their hands and knees of crawling to get to the trees. So,
Steep.
steep,
steep.
rough territory.
It's steep enough where I typically where John's talking about that they was treed that day. I usually, if I take my mules in there, if I got to come off of it with the mules, I usually won't ride. It's so because usually they're sliding on their butts and everything else.
Yeah.
And it's that same or that same angle for probably a little over a mile. Just straight.
Just make sure you shoot them high. And then they
What
roll
is it?
down. Just make sure you shoot them high up there, and then they roll down.
That's true. I think we was just all dreading that walk in there.
I bet. Have you been riding your mules for any of your hunts, or you just been hunting out of a vehicle?
Actually walk hunting most of the time. Most of it. I've took the mules a little bit, and then actually one day when John was up here, I actually went home and got the mule one day to go in there and get my little niece out because her sugar was dropping so bad.
She's got diabetes.
Yeah, sir. She's got whatever type it is where she wears a pump on her at all times.
She was born with it or with that?
Yeah, she's 9 years old, and it's just recently started to flare up where they realized that she had it within the last probably year, I would say.
It's too bad.
So,
but
she's a tough little girl. Yeah. She hasn't let it slow her down.
Really? So, Mr. Benny, did you ever run bears?
Yes, I didn't like it.
What?
Richard Dickerson and I used to guide bear hunts way back when we thought we were gonna be somebody, and we started this deal out, but with no game, no pay, and so we had to produce, and Rick made the deals with these guys, and there was one particular hunter that they were supposed to supply us with their meals, him and his girlfriend. And he brought his horse, and Rick and I were afoot. And they brought a huge pot of chili beans. And they put it on the fire every day. And they put it back in the ice chest when we ate out of it. And that's what we lived on. And Rick and I were both grumbling to each other. That's not much eating, you know. And so finally, we're over there on the Mogollon Rim below Payson, and we had a bear jumped, and I mean, they were giving it grief, and they were putting the heat on it, and we ran up to a real bad manzanita thicket, and the guy horseback, the hunter, he came up there, and he says, whoa, what are you guys doing? I said, the bear and the dogs went this way, let's go. And he said, no, I'm not going to take my horse in there. He says, I don't want to scuff it up. I said, what? And I looked at Dickerson and I said, do you believe this guy? He said, we're here and there's a bear at the end of this trail and that's how we get paid. Spur that horse and let's go. He says, no, I'm not going. I'm not going to get my horse scratched up. And we were so disgusted. I said, well, what do you want to do, Rick? You want to take?
Not now. Don't freeze now, Benny.
Oh, it always does that during a good story.
Benny.
Now we got to stare at
Just
his face
knucklehead back
even
to camp.
longer.
No,
He said,
wait,
"No,
you
I'm
got to
just
start
off
over. We didn't
Oh,
hear you.
Yep. You cut off like 45
So
seconds
where
ago.
did it look? Where did it?
And now your old face is
So
frozen.
anyway, this not on my end.
You're frozen.
I-
There you are.
Stupid telephones.
I knew he was going to be grumpy.
It's not responding.
You're like. So what happened with the hunter? He wouldn't go through the brush. So what'd you guys do with him?
Rick went after the dogs, and I took that guy back to camp and helped him load up and sent him on his way. And that was the end of my bear hunting shenanigans.
You didn't. Have you guided some bear hunters, Chris?
This year? No.
Or any time?
Myself. Yeah, I've guided before. But it's
You like
mainly
it,
people
or?
I know. No. I don't like guiding at all. It's just too much pressure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people, you know how people are. They just like dealing with your dogs. You know what I mean? When you want to sell a dog, everybody's an expert. You know.
Don't.
Oh.
I mean,
I know. Did I trigger you?
I don't even want to go.
triggered.
I don't even want to go
I just
down
triggered him. See, Benny, I got him for you.
that. I don't
No,
even
it's
want to
just
go down.
people really kind of suck sometimes. You know, I think the problem is social media. They watch these 30-minute videos, YouTube, 15, 20-minute videos. You got a bear, you got a lion, you know, you get a big elk, and they come out here watching hundreds of these videos 2 weeks before they come out. That's all they do. And so they think they're going to go out, they're going to blow a bugle, and this big, great 400 bulls are going to come in, or, you know, you're going to let your dogs off the truck because they bark. You know, we're not all George with the scruffy. You know, we have to work for our bear. You know, we don't catch 5 a day, but they expect that because they watch George's videos. You know what I mean, though? So when you get out and the dog opens up, they're like, we're going to catch a bear. But then when you're walking in 3 miles and it keeps jumping, they don't like that.
No.
They don't want to do that. They want to leave the truck. They want you to sit in the truck. They want you to go catch the bear, call them and say, walk in 100 yards off the road, kill the bear, and you go home. That's the expectation. That's the problem with YouTube and social media is you're perceiving it as easy. That's why no one likes hound people.
Nobody watches my videos. They don't perceive that as easy.
I will
Oh,
say,
and it's
George said that he has had trouble getting on his videos the perception of how rough that ground is.
It doesn't do it justice. I know what you mean.
No. Even Brett's last video, you can tell kind of how steep it is, but it wasn't as steep as it was. You know what I mean?
Didn't
when
show
I did my globe
as steep as it was. I mean, it was on that video. It was climbing, literally climbing. I mean, probably for about 50 yards or 60 yards, it was like that. And you after that it softened up. But what in the world? Yeah,
that was Mr. Famous phone going off.
yeah, he's busy, man.
Probably
Hollywood.
Clay Newcomb calling him, or
Well, yeah, or
Meat Eater.
Yeah.
Meat Eater.
Steve Vanilla. Probably Joe Rogan. Hey, can
Joe.
you bring Scruffy on?
Hey, speaking of Joe Rogan, I was listening to Joe Rogan. Do you know what state there it goes again. What
I know
state what state
back.
has the highest black bear population per capita?
I just seen that.
Probably
it was something.
Maine.
It was something you wouldn't think. No, it was something you wouldn't think. Right?
Yep. Any guesses?
It was not California.
No.
Is it California?
No.
They got a lot of bears.
New Jersey.
That's right.
Yeah,
I heard
Isn't that
something
crazy?
on that.
We lost Benny for good now.
Oh, he got mad. We weren't paying attention to him.
I know. That's what
When he-
he
I
is.
think
comes
if you
back.
get, I think if you get to researching it, New Jersey's got some like big trophy bear hunting. I mean,
Big bears, yeah. There he comes.
Big Bear, New Jersey.
Hey, before the night's over, too, Brett, we need to maybe try to throw
There
up
he
that
is.
Save the Hunt Colorado
I'm,
too,
Yeah,
so we don't forget.
I'm live again.
he's live again.
We thought you just got mad at us for not paying attention to you.
So, George,
I got a
I'm-
question though for the bear hunters.
go
You
ahead.
know, how important is it to you guys for genetics for a certain line of dogs, or you know, this is something that's been one of my interests forever is dog breeding and genetics. And do you guys follow a certain line of dogs? Do you breed your own dogs and keep them tight? What do you do for dogs?
So for me, I have my own line of, I call them English hounds, and I've been breeding them for a good while. Like I say, it's basically my own line, but I'm not. I'll hunt any dog. I'm not set on that. So if I get and even a color of dog, it don't breed don't matter to me, color don't matter to me.
So, if you're hunting, if you take, because I know you hunt dogs for other people, have you ever had a dog come in and this dog just ended up being an outstanding bear dog, and you had to say, "Hey, where did this dog come from? I want to get some of those genetics."
So actually, years ago, the line of dogs that I got actually, the English part of it goes back to a dog that I hunted for a older fella in West Virginia,
And you
and
really liked
that's
him.
through her. I realized that. Long story short, the dog that I was hunting for this guy, I realized she was way better than anything that I had at the time.
There you go.
So I took her, bred her into the line of stuff that I had at the moment, and through a little bit of line breeding and throwing some stuff in there, kind of off the wall every once in a while, I got the line of dogs that I have right now.
Do you have a percentage of dogs that make it? I mean,
My pup percentage is really high. They all, within reason, they'll all become dogs that will tree bear, but a lot of them I don't consider bear dogs, if that makes any sense.
well, yeah. What makes the difference to you?
All of my pups will typically end up being at the tree, treeing on bear. Whether it's with the pack, whatever. But not every single one makes what I consider a bear dog. And when I say a bear dog, one that can trail, if you're one of the guys that like to ride it on a truck, I like a dog that'll strike from the truck, trail up a bear, whether it be 10 hours old, 20 hours old, and then finish out a race and have it treed by themselves. To me, that's a bear dog.
Sure.
And a lot of mine, I got, not every one of my pups is going to do that by any means.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll all show, usually probably, I'd say 80% of them is probably going to be dogs that you would keep. They're too good to get rid of, but they're not going to be them. Not every pup is going to be a dog that can tree a bear by itself consistently every time you hunt it.
What is harder to come by, the grit and the treeing, or the actual being able to cold trail or trail a bear up?
In I think every individual line of dogs is different. With my personal line, I've got speed, and I've got I got plenty of dogs that will strike a track and catch a bear, but what I'm struggling with is keeping the trailing ability. So right now, every pup I'm looking for something that'll trail. That's what I need to keep and keep on breeding.
But you're
That
not
sound-
looking for a real cold nose. You don't want a real
What?
cold nose on a bear.
Not if you're catching that many.
You know what I mean? Because a cold nosed bear, if it's trailing a 3-day bear, that bear could be 200 miles away.
It's very true, but at the same time, long as they're not track specific dogs, usually if they'll trail just, in our country, a 20-year-old track is old, for our dogs. But what I reckon what I'm saying is if I got a dog that will trail an old track, I mean, that bear's going to take him into bear country, where whether he jumps that specific bear or
Oh,
another,
okay.
he's going
Yeah.
to get a bear going.
When you said
When you do
track,
a lot of. Go ahead.
track specific, what did you mean by that?
I've had some dogs. I'm not sure if it's rare or not, but I've had some dogs where when you put them on a particular track or a lot of times, unless they run across a red hot bear, they'll cross other tracks just to stay on
Oh,
that
stay on that one they
track.
started.
Right,
See, that's kind of what I want.
right.
It's no different than a search and rescue dog when they take a piece of clothing, show them the smell. I think you can do it. You'd have to be a meticulous trainer, and it would take you a lot to do that. To where you point at a track, get him to take that smell. I don't know how you do it. I mean, do you get 4 bear hides, freeze them up, and then drag one and cross them with the other, and then when he goes right, make sure he goes straight. You know what I mean?
I,
That'd be a tough trail to. That'd be a tough
I
train.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it'd be probably more in genetics, find a dog with the genetics to do that. Then it'd be hard to train it, I believe. I'm sure you can do it, but I've never had a
Well,
reason to do it.
they do it with search and rescue dogs. You know,
Exactly.
I don't know what the difference would be on any other dog.
They use a different dog though for search and rescue generally.
They use all kinds of dogs: German shepherds, labs. I've seen them use Queenslands.
What, Benny? What do you think after listening? The way George hunts his dogs, or what kind of dogs he has. How does that compare to your experience with the dry ground lion hounds?
It's a completely different deal. You know, when you said you don't want a cold nosed bear dog, I chuckled inside. I laid low after I moved to New Mexico. I laid low for years and years. Some of the people that knew that I hunted, they didn't believe that I really hunted as hard as I did. They didn't think that the dogs could produce anything. I stayed under a rock, and I probably didn't do myself any justice when I came out from under the rock. But it's just the way things worked out. But there was a guy that brought my welding supplies to the shop, and he heard, that I had hounds, and he said, "So what do you hunt?" I said, "I hunt mountain lions." And he says, "So where do you hunt them?" "Oh, down here in the Guadalupe Mountains." "Well, it doesn't snow much down there." I said, "Yeah, if it snows, I don't go." And he says, "What do you mean?" I said, "It's just a different deal altogether." And he says, "Well, I got bear dogs. Couldn't I go?" I said, "You can go. I don't care." He says, "Well, but you haven't ever invited me to go." And I said, "With your dogs?" He said, "Yeah. Why don't we just take our dogs together?" I said, "No, I don't want that kind of wreck." And he said, "So what makes your dog so different than mine?" I said, "Your dogs are hot nosed dogs, and they're geared for a faster, more aggressive day." And he said, "I have cold nosed bear dogs." I said, "Okay." And I just left it at that. And maybe 4 years later, I took him. I had a ranch on the Guadalupes, and I took him to the ranch, and we were hunting my dog. And Derek went up to a bush. He was starting to wag his tail a little, and I said, "Slow down, slow down." Derek's getting ready to start a trap. He says, "How can you tell?" I said, "Just slow down. Don't get in front of him. Stay here." And so Derek bawled on a rock, and one of those long, drawed out, "Ooh." And I said, "See there?" He says, "Well, how can he smell that?" I said, "That's just what he does." And then he ran over to a bush and he stuck his tongue on it. And then he sniffed it and he opened up. And Rick, the kid with me, he says, "Did you see that? Did you see that?" I said, What do you mean?" "Did you see what he did?" I said, "What did he do?" He said he stuck his tongue on that bush, on that stick sticking out, and then he opened. "Why did he do that?" I said, "Because he could tell that there was some scent there, and there wasn't enough scent, so he moistened it with his tongue. So that's a cold nosed dog. I said, in my world, that's a cold nosed dog. He said, yeah, I don't have any. I don't have nothing. I said, well,
I
I didn't want that. It's a different deal altogether. And it's not that
There he
Boy,
goes
Benny
again.
freezes.
It's not
He
that.
freezes.
He's doing that
he
on
does.
purpose.
He's just faking. I think I seen him blink.
It's just,
Okay.
I think he did.
oh, and now he's
Oh,
gone.
he's I knew
I
a
had
guy
a
down.
I had a real good question for him too.
Benny,
had a
Benny
guy-
hangs us. He hangs us on a cliff, don't he?
He does.
just
I think
hangs
he
us
does
a
it on
cliff.
purpose.
I'm gonna fire him.
But I knew a guy had a dog that he'd smell one side of the leaf and smell the other side of the leaf.
Look at that.
You
I
know,
became unfocused.
They don't look that unfocused to us, or to me.
It does to me.
Maybe I just can't.
Now I'm froze. So there. Sometimes I'm curious. I wonder. Of course, and I know what Benny's answer would be to this. Is he's going to say that you got to get those cold nose lion hounds from cold nose stock lion hound stock, but
Right.
sometimes
Oh,
I
yeah.
wonder about some of these dogs that are at gamey, if you keep exposing them to the tougher conditions, and that there will be a lion at the end of the track, they're running with better dogs or dogs. I wonder how many, if there's a lot of them that would learn how to go ahead and work out an old cold
Oh,
track.
I
That they would
absolutely.
develop
believe
the
they
nose
would.
out of necessity.
Yeah.
Oh, they
Now,
would.
I mean, I've got dogs now that have been with my other dogs, but they're not inclined to cold trail like some of my dogs.
Well, you know why? Because you have a dog that does it.
Well,
If
yeah.
that dog was to be taken away, I've heard this a lot of times from people with dogs. They have their best dog, 10, 12 years old, and they're so worried about their dogs. You're worried about it. Your good dog, if he dies or he gets too old, you're like, oh, I don't got nothing. And they say usually the second in line or a couple of top dogs will actually step up when he's not
Then the other
around
dogs will step up.
and take the track.
That's
You
like
know,
being
'cause
lazy,
they have
just
to.
saying, well, let's let him do the
Oh.
work till the fun starts.
Oh, if if you're at work and your guy next to you is doing all the work and you don't have to, why would you do it? If he's off for a day, guess what? You're doing the work.
Yeah.
Well, now
But-
we kind of experienced that Saturday. Well, George is more experienced it more than I did, but they experienced that
Yeah,
Saturday with a dog that they said didn't trail.
Yeah, I was going to that's why I was going to bring it up. It's hard to compare our trailing ability to the line dogs, and I'm sure the line, y'all got to do it probably more. But like when we started the track Saturday when John was up here, I was walking down an old trail, and one of the dogs just started wagging its tail a little bit. So we literally, two of my dogs went, maybe three of my dogs went backwards. They went the wrong way. And then the dog that actually got it jumped, it took him probably 40 minutes to go 100 yards. And we literally just sat down against a tree. One of the girls actually took a nap. Yeah. And he probably, in that 40 minutes, he probably barked 4 times. And he finally, once he got what it was an old pond there. A watering hole and a like a little thicket, and he trailed. It took him 40 minutes to get that 100 yards, get it away from the pond, and then it probably took him another hour to get 500-600 yards. And after that, then he started picking it up a little bit. But that's kind of our version of trailing dogs for around here.
Well, I think the way the way you said you just sat down and rested while he worked it out. I think there's a lot of that goes on with lion hunting, and I imagine John can even attest to that. There's a lot of kind of waiting and letting the dogs, figure it out. And sometimes, I know in years past that was my fault. I wouldn't give the dogs time to go ahead and figure out which way, what was going on, because there's a lot of confusion out here. I mean, people don't realize it, but some of this old rock, I think I was talking to Chris about it earlier. Him and I were
We was just
discussing it.
talking about it.
Some of this old rock holds the scent for a long time. I mean, it's in the right spot. It's protected, and it's that porous rock. And we don't know what the lion did there. He might have sat there, or like the other day.
Might have slobbered.
Yeah, that last video, I could almost picture what that lion did. He went out there and sat on the edge of that rock and was looking down in the canyon. Maybe there were some deer, or maybe I know there were some cows on the other side of the canyon. And he probably sat there, or she, or whatever it was, sat there and looked and thought about it and whatever. And for some reason, that scent really pooled right there on that rock. And then she got up and walked away. And I know she ended up going up the trail because I hit her track later on and we could trail. But it's real, I call it skippy. It's a real skippy track. Now the dogs just bawl on that rock like they were just going to go wah 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 and just take off. They couldn't move it off that rock. They could just bawl right there. Then pretty soon we went up the trail. In the video I don't show it, but I probably sat there for about at least an hour, and they couldn't figure it out. And we went up the trail, and pretty soon they started opening on that trail. And I say in the video even, I say, well, lions like anything else, they're going to travel. If they're got a destination, they're going somewhere, they'll travel these trails. It's a path of least resistance. And that's what she'd done.
Well,
we could only bark every now and then on it and never could figure out. Finally, we lost it and couldn't figure out where she went.
Well,
that was the problem when. Sorry.
Referencing like when John was with us the other day, if I'd have been on the mule riding steady, or if I'd have walked along and not paid attention to the dog, he would have just stayed with me. He wouldn't have, I probably wouldn't even had to speak a word to him. He'd have just come on with me. But just because we just sat there and waited, he finally just figured, well, he might as well just try to trail it up. So, and it probably took him 4 miles or so before he jumped it. And do you remember how long it actually took before we jumped it, John? It was a couple hours, wasn't it?
It was hours. I mean, because it was like just right after daylight that morning when he started. I mean, 30 minutes after daylight, hour after daylight.
Yeah.
Well, and make a video.
We went the other way following the other dogs.
Right.
Because that's the ones we couldn't track him, and we could pick the other dogs up, and we went the other way. And it was kind of, after a while watching the other dogs, it was like, well, these dogs just went backwards. Well, we didn't know what was going on, and all of a sudden it was get dogs down here, get dogs down there. We got a bear race. So
yeah.
How common is it for dogs to take a bear track backwards?
For my dogs, it's 50-50.
Well, you know what? On a hotter track, right? When you got a hot track, I've seen bears run with dogs behind it. I've let dogs go, and they hit that track, and it's so hot, they just go. And they went opposite way, and they go a couple hundred yards, and like, wait a minute. Then they'll turn around because the scent's so hot. I don't think they could tell which one way or the other until they get out a couple hundred yards, that scent settled to where they're, my head don't have to be.
My guess would be that Saturday there was a frost on, and as it warmed up, that frost melted, and that kept that scent kind of fresh, and it was hard.
Right.
It was hard for those dogs to tell the difference. Let me say it like that: tell the difference of which way that bear was going. And
it's another interesting thing though Saturday that, like, say, I keep referencing that because John was here and it's fresh on my mind, but it happens all the time. But so we trailed that track, and it was an old track, got it jumped, running. The dogs brought it down and actually crossed the road that we could get a truck to. And when the bear crossed the road, the dogs in the truck didn't even know it was around for a few minutes. It took us a while to get it straightened out. And the bear just crossed. We didn't see him, but he was just seconds crossing. Because we caught him in no time, within 10 minutes of letting the dogs go from the road. But there for a minute, I mean, they figured it out.
Like at first, y'all didn't even realize the bear crossed the road. It was
yes.
It took a few seconds to figure out the bear crossed the road, and George is one of George's really good trail dogs. She hit where the track was at, and George said, "Well, we'll go back up here and put back on the track." figure out this dog was up there, and all of a sudden another dog just down the road was like, "Whoa, wait a minute, here it is." So
Yep.
that's the way we turned on it. So
You know, and your dog's hunting bear, your scent's here, way up here.
Right.
You're hunting lion, your scent is all the way down here. You know, and
well
I jumped.
that track was so fresh, though, like George said up there, he didn't. I don't think he's maybe what he's trying to say is that track was so fresh that it hadn't even come up off the ground any for the dogs to realize the bear had gone through.
Yeah.
That's how
The
fresh
dogs
it
on the
was.
truck and stuff, they didn't even know the bear had crossed yet. And he had just crossed right in front of the truck. But the dogs, when we rode up over it, they didn't bark, nothing. You know, they didn't even know there was a bear around for a few minutes until that scent got up.
So
once that scent got up, it was apparent to everybody there that bear had went through because everything
Yeah.
blowed up. So.
took off. I mean, you catch a lot of bears, and there's a lot of bears in there. Do you guide hunters? And if you do, is there do you have to have a license, or what do you have to do?
So here in Virginia, I don't guide at all. Now I will take hunters, you know, kind of like John coming up,
No,
but there's no
hunters,
nothing like that involved. It's more for
Because he's trying to
I
burn
enjoy
someone else's tag. You want to burn your
Well,
tag?
we don't even do that. We don't kill them.
Yeah.
No, I'll say
Yeah.
this. George was good enough for me that he bought my lunch because I'd left my wallet in the truck, and then he
Oh, the
refuse.
old left your wallet trick.
Well, no, I paid him
Oh.
back, but he tried to refuse. He tried to refuse
He
cash.
is-
He was paying for my lunch
John-
or for my.
John
My
is a bear
supper?
hunter.
I don't know if it was lunch or supper or breakfast.
It was all-
hadn't really eat anything all day. Just early that morning, crunched something down, and
That's okay. You left it at home tonight.
yeah, I left it at home tonight. Tammy had to buy supper tonight. She wanted to go to the Mexican.
Oh, dang. It's a habit.
Hey, we got to the road, and I said I've left my wallet. She said it's fine. I've got mine.
Oh, that's how you do it. I'm gonna try that. Of
Well,
course, my wife's card comes out of the same account, so it don't matter.
ours is all
Yeah, there's
connected.
Real quick, Brett, on the comments, Brandon, are there any outfitters that will let a client go hunt and not want to take an animal all the time?
Oh yeah.
Those guys will take you. I'm not saying they won't charge you less, but they'll take you. I take people. I tell them all the time. I had a guy this year. He was an archery hunter. I had started a bear, and they were all going. And he come around the corner on the road, and he said, "Oh, they seen a bear up here this morning." I said, "Yeah, I think dogs are on it." I said, "But you're welcome to come in." I said, "If it's a big one, you can shoot it. And if it's a male," I said, "I'm not going to burn a tag." I said, "The only reason I'll shoot it if it's 400-pound bear." And he did. That old guy never been behind dogs, walked in, and he had a good time.
So do you have to have a harvest tag to just pursue, or can you just get a pursuit license?
In Arizona, you have to have a license. There's no pursuit. You have to have a hunting license. You have to have a tag, period.
Same here in Virginia.
Lion, you have a pursuit. You can buy a pursuit tag. You can kill a lion burn your tag up and go buy a pursuit tag and still go chase lion in Arizona.
Really?
Now, George, in Virginia, you can use your tag and still hunt as long as you don't carry a weapon, though, right?
I think you can assist in a hunt. Yes.
Yes, I mean you can take your dogs and go, but as long as you don't carry a weapon, you're okay.
Oh, we could do that as long as someone else has a tag.
Yeah.
Is it,
Yeah.
George, I mean, is it a pretty big social event? I mean, when you go out, do you have quite a few guys with you?
This time of year, yes. The last, let's see. So our harvest hill season, whatever you want to call it, it come in. What was it, John? 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
And when it comes in, it's a month long. It's the month of December typically. And yeah, it's a big social event then. Now, up till then, usually it's just me hunting by myself, or a lot of times Dad, and then I have an older gentleman that hunts with me, Danny. So, but yeah, but now these couple weeks that we're hunting right now, I always look forward to them. I got a good bit of family comes out. Usually, I got a few guys that don't typically they'll show up. So it's a lot of fun.
Danny's a hoot too. I'll say that. Danny's a hoot.
Yeah.
You want to elaborate?
Oh, he's just a good guy. It kind of. I mean, I guess he kind of like your buddy Brett that was just on with us. I mean, kind of.
Oh,
I mean,
Benny?
yeah, he kind of like Benny in a way. I mean, I guess he's just a hoot. Just
Yeah, Danny keeps me straight. He'll let me know all the wrongdoings that we've did. Yeah, the wrong. Yeah,
yeah,
he's a blast.
he's one of the ones that wants a buyer to hit the ground.
You want?
Yeah, he wants the buyer to hit the ground. He don't care who does it. He just wants the buyer to hit the ground.
So,
And on a serious note, he is excellent help. He don't he's typically close to the truck the whole time, but I don't have to worry about if I'm 2 miles back in the woods and my dogs leave me hidden towards the main road. I can depend on Danny to be there. Whether I talk to him or not, I know he's there somewhere and he'll be keeping an eye on the dogs for me. So it's a big peace of mind.
Chuck
And
Miller
I'll say
said,
this: when George is telling the truth, when George asks, "Hey, have you seen this dog?" Danny will say, "Yeah, it's over here, going this way. I'm watching it. It's nowhere near a road. It's safe. Or this one's coming to a road. We need to check on it."
Yeah.
Benny
Chuck
said-
Miller said you had to have a guide license, but that's only if you're getting paid. I don't know if he's talking about Arizona. So as long as you have to have a hunt license, I believe, just to run the dogs, but you don't need a guide license unless they're paying you. They like to send undercovers to find out if you're getting paid. You gotta watch it. Game and fish are sneaky. And then up here, Jeremy with Louisiana Hunting. I watch you and Chris, and y'all don't catch nothing. You do every now and then. Well,
Who says that?
Louisiana Hunting.
What'd he say?
It's Jeremy. He likes to talk crap. He says, I watch you and Chris, and y'all don't catch nothing. And he kind of laughed about it. But he said, you do every now and then. Well, I'll clear that up. Is just because people aren't showing they're catching something doesn't mean they're not catching something. And with me, with our, for YouTube, our audience ain't people, they ain't houndsmen. We've talked about this 100 times, but it's people who can't do it. So they're not really there just to watch the. You want to go watch that? Find some snow stuff.
This is something when we were talking about dogs trailing a while ago, and Benny was talking about a guy bringing his bear dogs along. I've been hearing a lot more now that I've been out west with you guys in your area, that it's possible to take a bear dog in the snow and put him on a line trap.
Oh, yeah. So what is Louisiana Hunting? What are you getting at? Let's talk about this, boy.
Yeah, Jeremy. What are you talking about? Don't give Jeremy a rough time. He's a coon hunter.
He's from Louisiana. He can't have much sense.
That's maybe a couple cents.
Crazy Cajuns.
I like old Jeremy.
Well, he's about to get on my bad side.
That ain't hard with Brett sometimes.
I'm real
I
nice
make him mad
until
every
I'm
day.
not.
Talking to Brett the other day, I said, you couldn't get up that peak? I'm telling you, Chris, right now, if I didn't get up it, I didn't get up it. I'm like, you couldn't go around it?
Man, here I am.
Now he is. Look, there he goes talking. He was talking crap about me.
Talk about
that.
Chris. Don't talk about me.
He did. Look what he said.
That's what he's saying. He said that you catch more than Chris.
Mm-hmm.
We need to go into the, I guess, the different ways people catch lions. And we need to explain how a lot of it's done that a lot of people don't really know about, I guess. Or should we? Should we just keep it to ourselves?
No, I was going to go into a little earlier that if George made a video this one good bear hunt, and he recorded every bit of it, and he put it on. No one is going to sit there for 8 hours, six
No,
hours, 4 hours to watch a video. They're not going to sit
no.
there for 10 days while Mike Root is on the back of a mule trailing a lion. They don't want to see that. They don't want to see how many views you get on a 4 hour hunt and all the troubles it is. Falling down the cliff, trucks breaking down, yelling at your dogs, yelling at the guy
Well,
with you, even though your buddies. You know what I mean?
Mike Root is probably, he's one of the better old-fashioned
Hmm.
lion hunters. The guys
Old school.
who, I mean, and there's when you ask, like when I asked Henry McIntyre, how do you hunt lions? He said, I get good dogs and I get a mule and I ride circles in lion country. And that's a hard way to do it. Of course, you have some areas that are, a lot more productive than other areas. And but Mike Root hunts some pretty tough country. I mean, it's roadless country. It's and he hunts the old-fashioned way. That's exactly how he does it. He gets on a mule. He rides circles. Now he knows the country and he knows where lions cross. But even like Mike Rook, he had a guy. He told me came out and hunted like on and off for like over 60 days, and never did catch him a lion. Now Mike caught lions in between before that guy came out. But, you're talking about a hard hunter that hunts, 6 days a week hard in pretty good lion country and might catch, a good year is 10, 11 lions. And that's just so much different where even the guys who use all the, I don't know, I don't want to say cheap.
Gizmos and
because,
gadgets.
yeah, they use a lot more they use different
Well, let's take
methods. They use different
Larry
methods
Hendricks.
to get to the lion track. And still
Well,
12 lions
let's
is a
take
good year.
Larry Hendricks. Game and Fish played. This is what Chuck Miller said. Paid Larry Hendricks for a year solid to tag lions in Unit 32 a year. He got 32 in 1 year. That's a guy that has resources. He's getting paid to be out there 9 days a week, 28 hours a day.
And
This
what's
guy,
Unit 32? Where's Unit 32?
Mhm. That's down south. That's over by, isn't that down by Warner Glen? That's 31, maybe. I'll have to look it up. It's down off of I-10 over that way, I believe. Maybe Tucson.
Chuck Miller, where is Unit 32?
Hey, north of Benton, yeah, that's right. That's what I thought. Down
Where's-
that way. Benton, he was over there. He was over there by Douglas, and
I was in the Palencios.
so
And let me tell you what, they got lions down there.
no, they do.
I mean, and
Hey, Jeremy texted me, Brett. He said, I didn't mean to touch nerve with Brett. I was poking fun with you. Please clarify for me. I am truly envious of you guys and what y'all get to do. I told you he just messing around.
well,
I still love you, Louisiana hunting.
I can't remember. Well, anyway, it don't matter.
Yeah.
They they got
That's
good lions down there.
and that's dry ground country. That's tough
Yeah.
country. And this guy can cheat to catch these lions to collar them. I know the game and fish biologists now, they can do whatever they need to do to collar these lions. So you don't have to abide by the rules. You do what you have to do.
Benny said he
No,
can't
he
make
dropped-
it back. His phone's not working. Yeah, well, I mean, in the area that you hunt has a lot to do with all that too. I mean, where you're
Oh.
hunting and the line. Like I talked to a guy today from I think he's from Wyoming, and man, they're catching a lion like every 3 days, something like that. Now they're treeing females and they're letting them loose. But geez, I drove probably close to 160 miles the last few days on my buggy in good places where I mean, I've hunted down here for quite a few years in good places where I know lions cross. Never could find a track. Never could. There comes Benny again. There he
The
is.
the country I'm in, the limit is one lion, and it's 3 or 4. It's a big region. It's a huge area, and it's only one lion.
Yeah.
And the only thing they changed this year. It's a female threshold, but that's because they got all them Sonoran pronghorn down here. But one lion, there's some units that have 60 lion for a limit. That's a lot of
Well,
lions.
you're saying one line, and then the unit
Period.
shut down.
The units, there's like 3 or 4 units that's packed all into this little region. Yes.
Oh, really?
And they did change it to a female threshold, which means I think if you kill out all the male, you can kill males. But once that one female's killed, it's shut down. And I'll be honest, that's what I'm chasing right now. That one female, and I should get rid of it. I should shoot it because she's whacking all these. And I know she just had 2 cubs. I just seen a picture of her. Someone's backyard. They just posted it. That's my hot sheets. Fake book is my hot sheets for this area.
So
Benny.
what's she killing? What's she killing, Chris?
Sonoran pronghorn. And there's only like 200 in the United States.
And that cat's killing them.
Oh yeah, they've killed. Last I talked to biologists, it was, I think they were up to 9 out of 22. They dropped 22 the year I started a couple years ago. Last year they dropped 11, and so far they've killed out of that first batch. There was like 7 confirmed lion kills. They're easy, They're a new area. The lions. There's deer here, but it's just a very dry.
How many other lion hunters do you bump into?
I've never in my life bumped into anybody who even wants to hunt down here. I'm the stupid one.
I never have either.
No, I can go out there every day and make a 10-mile circle and zigzag it. And I might I'll bump into more illegals than I will lion hunters. I caught it once. Is that Jeremy? Kick him off.
Yeah.
Brad. Just kick him off.
I do have the capability of banning people.
That's the reason I laughed.
He already got me fired up.
Can you make it? Just make his text come in Chinese so no one knows what it's saying. I caught that female. I did catch that female, and she just smoked me, man. It's tough. I'll invite anybody who and I'm not as good as Benny. Benny's the greatest.
Whatever.
I don't claim to be the best. I'll go catch stuff, but I don't go out there 4 times, 5 times a week. I get out there when I can.
That's a big difference too. See, that's what's really bad. I spent a lot of years having to balance my job, my business, running my business, and then hunting when I could. And then I sold my business so I could hunt more and do more things. And I was sick all year.
Yeah, that hit you at a bad time.
So Benny, where did Benny leave us hanging when he got all froze up?
I was talking about the difference in the lion and the bear, and I don't know if you guys heard me say that kid that came with me, and he said, "Well, my dogs aren't cold nosed like that." And I said, "Yeah, I know. I'm not trying to start a fight, and I'm not trying to say that one dog is better than the other. It's about the game that you're after." And I didn't have bear dogs, so I couldn't say that my dogs, just because they did this, shined over here doing what I do, that they could go give him a run for his money with bears. I mean, but I understand that there's been some cold-nosed bear dogs, but generally speaking, people that hunt bear don't have any need for a cold-nosed dog.
They don't want one.
No.
That's that cold.
Well, Justin Marks, when he was hunting with Dale and Clell Lee when he was a young man, they had a hunter that came in, and it was right there about the time the bears were going into hibernation over there on the Blue. And they got one of their colder nosed dogs that would dig out a bear. And that dog pecked and pecked and pecked and pecked on an old bear track. and ended up killing that bear in the den. So that's a different scenario altogether.
I
Yeah.
wonder if my buddy Seth's on here yet. He gets fired up when you say that there's no such thing as a cold nosed bear dog.
I don't know why you'd want one. Honestly, they just travel so far. Like, I don't want to start a 3-day bear track.
Well,
I would never.
they said years ago around here we didn't used to. I mean, I can remember when you didn't ever see a bear around here. I don't know about
Yeah.
Georgia's part of Virginia if it was ever like that years ago when George was little, but
Mhm.
I can remember those guys saying that they used to start a track here, and they had dogs back then that would trail old tracks because they said that they would start one and they would run it all week. They said somebody would sit with it at night, sit with that track at night, and they'd come back the next day and put back in on it and run all day or trail all day and come back in. Somebody else would stay with it that night while everybody else went home. They'd bring the dogs back and put back in on it and start on it again. Yeah, there he is. There's Seth. He's Jonathan. Jonathan
Is Seth
Anderson.
or Jonathan? Which one is it here? Don't
We
be
call
sending
him
your
Seth.
friends in under covert.
We call him Seth, but his given name is Jonathan, but he goes by Seth. Seth's his middle name. He says he's here. But Seth, I mean, I'm telling the truth though, right? Seth, years ago, y'all guys had to start a track and run it for a week.
See, that's a completely different scenario. It's just like catching a bear every single day. Well, nobody has time if that's what they're going to do to go run one for 3 days.
Well, yeah, there's no sense in it.
And so it's just a different, and it's not. I've never understood guys that don't think like me. My wife says she's glad that nobody else does, and so there's always that side too.
We can't
But
all be perfect.
no, that's not it at all. I'm just narrow-minded. I'm very narrow, and I used to be a member of one of those houndsman groups, and I see where these guys want to hunt. They want the same dog to hunt and produce a squirrel and a raccoon and a coyote and a gray fox and a bear and a bobcat. And it's like, to me, you're just letting your dog run whatever the heck there is, and that's not screwing down and focusing on catching something. But that's just
Well,
me.
when it comes to bear and lion, it's kind of the same thing. You got to rig. With bear dogs, you say you're rigging. You know, um, George, when you get a good rig, you know that bear's right there somewhere close. You can
Right.
tell a rig, just like a lion. When they're up there, got their nose down, you could tell how the way they open up or they wag their tail, how fresh that track is. You know,
Right.
and with bear, I don't want a crappy rig. Honest, I don't want to. I want a hot rig. So I can
Keep
let go
going
and
till you
catch 'em.
get a good rig.
Yes, I will circle around, and then sometimes I'll just free cast in because that rig felt. I've been behind guys who rigged, and they'll rig a road 100 miles an hour and leave. I'll go free cast into that big circle road around a mountain. I'll just let my dogs go in there and I'll catch something because rig don't matter if it didn't cross the road or if that wind ain't blowing just right.
Well, it
You
could
can
be
rig
blowing
off
away
the
from it,
road.
yeah.
You can rig off the road. I've been with Elizabeth Bowl and her dogs have rigged a bear. I swear, the thing was 200-300 yards away before they even hit. Had a wind come in and she let them go. They caught it. They went out a ways. They were 400 yards out. Opened up, took off.
That gal, she has some really good multi-purpose dogs, doesn't she?
If she can catch whatever you want to catch,
She'll
I've
catch
seen
a
her throw
fox, a
9 bulls.
bobcat,
Oh,
whatever.
they're everything. Anybody who says you can't cross, I don't think she's running bear no more. Of course, she's in California, and can't say you're running bear anyways. But I've been with her. Her dogs. I lost my good rig dog, then I started running with her, and her dogs taught my lead dog now how to rig. So when he rigged, they checked it, and then my dog said, "Oh, I'm doing good." To where my dog started rigging. Oh, that there is no better houndsman in my opinion. Multi-purpose hounds woman that, and she'll hang with you. I'll tell
Hounds
you,
person.
hounds person. I don't want to gender neutralize anything, but
Gender
I've seen her throw
neutralized.
9 bulls down and let her dogs out and feed them right next to each other. Them dogs, they're good dogs. I've seen her put them in a little Ford Focus or whatever they gave her because her truck broke down in Sholo, and she put 9 dogs in a compact car and drove 6 hours. Those are well behaved dogs.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's the
You
way
know,
they're
That's
supposed to
somebody
be.
who spends a lot of time with them. You
Yeah.
know, for me, I think that all of this stuff it boils down to personal preference, and I I think you can learn from almost anybody something. Uh, it's just I changed the preference in what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it, and I've never gotten much fun out of these pissing matches with people. Well, that one guy, somebody asked a while back on here, did you know Dennis Ingram? And I was it wasn't asked to me, but I really enjoyed the piston matches with him.
Well, that was way back in the big game houndsman days. That was
Way back.
who was the
But
guy that used to give him such a hard time that was from up there?
hounding him is what he went by.
What was his name though? That guy was a
Oh,
character.
I
I
remember
mean,
that guy hounding them.
absolute character. And he would give Dennis Ingram such a hard time. It was hilarious.
Well, I didn't set out to give Dennis a hard time. I was thoroughly interested, completely interested, because he said that his dogs consistently rigged dry ground lions. Well, then tell me what the circumstances are. And he just started fighting immediately. Like, no, really. So, Brett, you know Tom White.
Yeah,
Tom White, his dogs rigged a lion going through the
sure.
Capitan Mountain. But he said he would not. He absolutely would not tell the story on there because he didn't want to be in the middle of the big fracas. And I said, well, Tom, tell me the story. He said, we were driving along real slow. The dogs blew up. I stopped. There was a lion track right there crossing the road. I let a dog go, and the lion was laying 12 yards away from the road.
Hmm.
He said they caught the lion. I said, now see, that's what I want to know. I'm not trying to say that's impossible. It's not impossible. There's so many things. Everybody thinks they know everything about whatever the subject is. And if it gets right down to it, we can all show how stupid and foolish we are by claiming we know something that we don't.
Yeah. There's a lot of that
Benny,
too.
Benny, when you talk about Capitan Mountain, you talking about the gap back there, like Capitan Gap, or you talking about going across the top? Or
Oh,
because I
Tom
got
and
to ride,
his,
I got to ride through there in October. I got to ride both. I got to ride across the top and through Capitan Gap.
well, if you go in by, um, oh, dang it. What's the name of that little community there? Um, coming in off of you come into it from the north, no, from the southeast side and
Okay.
back in there. But I used to hunt the Capitans a lot. There's there's a car dealer in Roswell that's bought a lot of country, and he's fenced a lot of country that his isn't his, and he's just about made it impossible for a lot of that country to get hunted anymore. But what was Tom's son-in-law's name at the time, Brett?
Jeff Shaw.
Jeff Shaw and Tom White used to hunt the Capitan Mountains like maybe 12 days a week. I'm not sure. And they knew every lion there, and they knew every lion's habits, and they knew, all of that. And so they were there all the time. And it just, I don't, Larry Hendrick has hunted lions as much as anybody's hunted lions. I think he told me he was 35 years old when his wife left him and divorced him. And he decided at that time that he wanted to go live how he wanted to live, and if he quit roping, he could just live off of hunting his dogs. And so that's what he did since he was 35 years old or thereabouts. And when I was at Larry's house several years ago, he said, "Hey, I got a question for you. Have you ever seen this happen?" I mean, this is the guy that's hunted mountain lions 5 days a week, 6 days a week. He hunted every day but Sunday, 6 days a week, and did it like that was his job. And he's asking me, have I seen this happen? So that just tells me that we don't all have all the not one of us has all the answers and has seen every scenario.
Yeah, you know Joe Hott. Did you know Joe Hott?
Yes.
I seen him rig or lions with his. Have you seen his rig rack on the front of his truck? It's a
No.
collapse. It's a it's a collapsible kennel that he has ratchet strapped to his that old 40. I don't know. I haven't seen him in years, but he had an old kennel, gold one. It was a gold kennel, looked like a big bird cage, and he had a hound inside there, and it was about this far from the ground. You know, it wasn't. And he would run along there, and he'd rig. I seen him rig a lion, and then his son Destry was on a horse, and he took off after it. And it was a full moon. Sun went down. He says, "I'm just going to keep going," and you could hear him cry. No flashlight, you know, and he had one eye. He had a patch because he poked his eye out, and they were trying to fix it. And he's running
Time,
through on a
no flashlight.
no, just full moon. He just went. Came back a couple hours later and says, "It's pretty dark." I said, yeah. We had a cancer kid, so he was really trying to catch a lion, you know. So
Benny,
but they
that
can
one
be
we got
rigged.
after, that one we got after went through place down there. On the map it's called Give a Damn. Went through there and across Capitan Mountain and on the backside through the gap. You know that area I'm talking about.
Well,
I do.
His track showed he was a pretty good line. He got back in there and got with a female.
that's a real good area. I mean, that's why uh, the outfitters that we know, that's why they hunt it. They can make a living there. I mean, they can catch lions.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I hunted with Tom White and Don Milton one time over there. I sold him a dog. Tom had two dogs that were litter mates to my Solo and Blackie dog. And then I sold them. I had another litter mate, Trip, and I sold him to Don Milton. And those are the dogs that my Booger and P and all of them go back to, is those dogs right there. And that's still the guy you hunted with, Bency. He's got some that are bred the same way, and I think Sean Wimberly has some too. I'm not sure, but
With that one rancher told us that 25 years ago that there would have been snow that time of year in October.
probably.
You know, and we were dealing with highs in the 80s.
That's hot.
Well, this year
Yep.
was weird. You know.
Well, that's the reason we couldn't trail any was because it was getting 40 at night and then get 80 by lunchtime, and you know, dogs didn't have time to work it. It was just gone.
Get too hot. Yeah, that's the biggest problem down here. Is
These
it's hot. Hmm?
they couldn't work it in 80 degrees.
Well, Bentley said the biggest problem was it was going from 40 to 80. You had a 40-degree swing gap there. And, you know, it was getting 80, 85 by lunchtime, and it was just so hot that, you know, they couldn't do anything with it.
Sure could use a cold nose, dry ground track pecking dog.
I don't know. Over 80 degrees, it's hard to keep
pretty
a dog
hot.
working.
Yeah. Depends on how much water you got in the area, I guess.
I get it, and your dogs have to be acclimated to where you're hunting as well. That matters too.
Well, I mean, Brett was up there. Brett even said it was hot.
It was
up
hot.
there, and there wasn't any water in the tanks Very few tanks had water in them. So
No,
It was
no,
extremely
no,
dry.
no empty ponds.
yeah, there were some empty ponds too.
Yeah, it was completely dry this year, but it just depends on your dogs and where they're hunting and how they're acclimated too. Because we pulled dogs off in the desert in Arizona, north of Phoenix. We hunted in the summertime just because we wanted to see some action and we wanted to see a pup work. And of course, at 9:30 in the morning, they found where Tom had gone through the country scratching, and we kept taking the dogs back to water because they didn't want to quit. And finally, about 11:30, we were trailing into a big set of bluffs, and we pulled the dogs off and made them quit because, of course, it was way too hot. It was probably by that time it was probably in the upper 90s, and if they'd have got a lion in that bluff and started fighting, we no doubt would have lost dogs to heat stress.
Yeah, when you
Well,
start getting over 80, 85, I mean, you get something fast going on, you'll kill a good dog.
Yeah,
well,
that's
me,
true.
me and Brett run into some guys out there that had a dog that was on its way out. Probably they were looking for a IV for it because they'd heat stressed it. That was bear hunting,
They
and they'd
caught a
caught a
bear
bear on the
too,
ground.
didn't they?
Yeah, they'd caught a bear on the ground. So
Well, I had two pups way back. I had two pups, and I didn't have a dog house. I was busy. I didn't think I had time for all this, but I let them run every day, all day long. And the kids were here for the summer. We had a sitter that was coming over every day, and I left every morning about 3:30 or 4 o'clock. So the sitter's job was to turn my pups loose when she got there, and then I would call them up and feed them in the evening and tie them up. Well, I got home this one particular afternoon, and she had forgotten to unhook my pups, and one pup was dead, and the other pup died in my lap with me spooning water over it, trying to calm it down, cool it down. And so I understand completely, heat stress in a dog and all of that. Uh, it just you can't beat having your dog acclimated for where you're going to hunt, the
Yeah.
conditions and everything. It's just like George, you hunting those bears straight up and down those mountains where your mule's going to slide, dragging his tail feathers all the way to the bottom. Well, you take these guys from around here that hunt bear, and they don't have anything that severe, and their dogs aren't going to keep up and perform with yours.
Right, and the other way around also. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. And then I hear y'all talking about the temperature. My shoot around here, my dogs are they're wimps. Usually 75 degrees is about my cutoff.
You got a lot of humidity, don't you?
Yeah, that's
Yes,
right.
sir.
We
70,
have
that's my cutoff too.
Yeah.
now we've produced a lion in the warm temperatures down there on the desert.
Yeah, it was pretty hot. I guess.
Hot enough for me to get my clothes off.
Jeez. Why do you have to bring that up? It's just like this bad picture in my mind. I can't get it out now.
Hey, I got a question for you guys that hunt bears consistently all the time. Do you ever do things just for fun and like go up in a tree and job on a bear or anything?
I punched a bear in the butt once trying to come out.
Well, that'll send him back up, won't it?
They did. And then my
Not
dog
every time.
grabbed him and went up about 10 feet with him.
John says not every time.
didn't work. Didn't work Friday, did it? Did it, George?
It didn't work Friday.
Have you ever had a bear come down and get after you?
Well, I mean, yeah, usually I don't talk about them ones much, but actually the one Friday got a little sucker jumped out at me and I jerked the dogs back. Yeah, he let me get, I think, I think I had 4 or 5 dogs at the tree. Got to the tree. I got 2 of them. I think 2 of them tied back, and he wasn't 4 foot above the dogs. I walked up and I got the other 2 on a lead strap, and then instead of him jumping out away from the dogs, he just come right at me and grabbed my dog on the lead. So we had a little go around there for a couple minutes.
Were you kicking him?
It was quite the. I ain't sure exactly what all any of us was doing.
Were you screaming?
I usually try not to yell at them too. Well, I was fine there because I had my dogs on a lead, but usually I try not to yell too much because then it just gets my dogs fired up more, and then I get dogs all tore up.
So if you had a preacher with you, did you say any bad words?
I didn't say any bad words. No, we had a little bit.
The only thing I heard George say was he told the other guy that was with us, if he gets back in the tree, shoot him. So,
He just said,
that's the only thing. That's the only thing I heard George say. And then his buddy Ethan, I think, had a stick about yay long trying to poke a bear with it. So.
Needed a bigger stick.
Yeah, we need something there. Some of them, most bear respect humans or human scent and humans in general. And then every once in a while, you just run into that crazy bear that just don't care. I've noticed over the years when they come down the tree and if they start, popping their teeth and stuff is fine. That's normal. But when they start like pinning their ears back, staring right at you, and they'll pin their ears. Yeah. They don't care what if you're a human or not or whatever.
That bear was like.
Go ahead.
That bear was like a spider monkey. He was not that he was small, but he was one of those that would hang on the tree, plumb sideways. He would turn plumb sideways and look at you, and then flip back around the other way and look at you. He wasn't one that just sat in a tree and stared. He wasn't
big by any means, but he was big enough. He was probably a 160, 170, pound bear. So he was big enough he could do kind of what he wanted.
Well, when I said he wasn't little, he what I was getting at is he wasn't a 75-pound bear or 100-pound bear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a decent bear for our area, but he was one of those that was active in the tree. He was twisting and turning and looking, and
he could move when he wanted to.
Of course, those dogs. When you was talking earlier about trailing, George put those dogs out on a rig that he said, it's not that good, but let's try it. And he did. His cold trailed it out, and then when they jumped him and put him up a tree.
When you're cold trailing a bear like that in your country, what kind of terrain are you going through?
Is
it
brushy? It depends on the mountain, but yeah, typically the bear always usually try to stick to the brush. So we're going through the brush, and then we got a lot of rocks and stuff. Well, I ain't gonna say a lot of rocks, but there's enough rocks and small. It's nothing like the cliffs and the rocks that you guys have, but it's enough where off and on you can hang up a dog.
Yeah. Do you feel like in that heavier brush where it's protected, do you feel like the scent holds in there a lot better?
100%. We have a lot of laurel, mountain laurel, and the dogs can typically move a track in that mountain laurel. But when they get on, say, a sunny side, or once the sun gets up and gets to burning on some of we usually say when they get on the east side of the mountain, usually when they have trouble.
Yeah.
But like that, John was talking about that going back to some of the version of our rig dogs. When I was riding through that morning, typically this time of year we can't rig tracks. The bear moved on back in the mountains, but I think it was one of my old dogs. She barked like twice, 2 or 3 times, and I let her off, and it probably took her a few minutes to find and start moving the track. And then it was It was probably 5 miles before she actually jumped the bear, and 5 miles in all morning. Yeah,
Wow. That's good.
but
I mean, be able to cold trail or trail one up 5 miles. That's
a lot of it just depends on we can't do that all the time. It just depends on how our temperatures and stuff are.
do you
When we get them freezing cold nights, then a lot of times that we can do better trailing this time of year than typical.
what do you enjoy the most yourself?
Oh, trailing tracks 100%. Yeah, that's uh, when you got a dog that will just uh, I don't even know what the words for it, but just hang in there, buckle
Oh yeah.
down,
Just work that
track
track.
to track.
Doesn't quit a track.
Right. Well, and this is another thing that happens to us sometimes. Back earlier in the year, well, I say earlier is when our kill season first come in. I rigged a track from the road, let the dogs off. They couldn't get it going. They um they knew scent was there, but they just could not get it going. So finally gave up. I rode on down the road a couple miles and walked up on the mountain. Um, Dogs picked up a track, trailed it, and it took them. I think it was probably from like 7:30, 8 o'clock that morning to about 3 o'clock that evening, and they trailed back to where I'd struck that track in the road that morning. And I mean, like I say, the mysteries of scent because they trailed it back to there. Took them forever, but they did get it across the road, and they trailed it over to another road, and by that time the sun had done got up, and they was having a terrible time. So actually, I just took a wild chance. I picked them up, and I walked down another ridge where I knew a thicket that they was kind of heading towards, and I got lucky, but the bear was actually in that thicket. I just picked them up and moved them onto that thicket, jumped up and treated it.
When they're trailing like that and just cold trailing, are you do you get out and walk with them and stay with them?
Yeah, a lot of times it depends on the terrain. If they're trailing under the mountain, and when I say like off the side, then I'll just walk along with them, but I'll stay on top of the ridge.
You'll stay up just so you can.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, if they'll trail down into flat, low woods stuff where I don't have to kill myself, then I just walk right with them a
Yeah.
lot of the times. So,
But
and I do that for two reasons. My old dogs don't really care if I'm there or not, but it keeps my young dogs kind of in the game. So, because a lot of times they'll get bored with them old trailing tracks,
yeah.
and when they get bored, it either gets them in trouble because they'll run off game, or they just come back to me.
And
And
you
I gotta
guys have
watch
a pretty good road system there too, don't you?
a decent, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I've
Well,
noticed over if my young dogs, if I when they're too young and their attention span's too short, if I keep putting them on them old trailing tracks, um, I will unintentionally I will train them to. I say train them. They'll train themselves to come back with me because they know eventually that I'm going to end up in the
Oh,
action. So they won't even want to trail. They'll just figure, well, they'll stay with me, and then other dogs will do all the work, and then finally they get to go with me to a bear tree.
so yeah,
So
be careful.
I like to either walk on the track with the old dogs or just get away from it totally.
There you go, guys. There's some great training advice right there. I mean,
for
It don't work
free.
all the time.
you're not going to get that on Facebook.
Well, and there was something else there he said that I want to talk about. He talked about him not trying to yell at the tree, and it makes a lot of sense not to get those dogs too excited in a situation that could be potentially dangerous for them when a bear, is coming down.
Mhm.
Because we talked about it this week, those dogs can tell when you get excited,
Oh yeah.
and even without yelling, those dogs can tell when you get excited. And what brought it up this week with us was Scruffy. When we had a bear moving, it's not like we had got romping around in the truck, excited, woohoo, hollering. but you could tell that Scruffy knew something was up, and he was ready to go. He was alert. He was because I mean he'd been sleeping in the back seat. He'd been sleeping on my lap, and all of a sudden Scruffy's in between us, looking out the window, eyes intent, tail up, and he was ready to go. And he just knew because we were excited, even though we weren't hooping and hollering and carrying on. He could tell just by that it was time to.
Oh
It was time
yeah,
to go.
I I seen an old smudged out. I think it was a cow track that a coyote had stepped on or something. But to me, it looked like a lion track. And I was driving, and the dogs were just roading out through there, and I stopped and I ran over there in the arroyo to look at it, and just me stopping and getting out and walking over there, those dogs got excited. They thought, "Oh, the boss
Oh,
found
They
something.
were
The
hoping.
boss found something." They're over there whipping their tails and looking. But I was just getting a little trashy. So
Broke.
You had rigged trash.
I've done it
Yeah.
before. I think I've encouraged them to trail trash before because I thought it was a lion.
So they can't be broke if they're not in broke company.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Hang out
Hey,
with trash, you're gonna be trash.
hey, I caught a daytime raccoon the other day.
Big one.
A big sucker. It was fun. I couldn't believe it. The young dogs, even Booger came over and treed on it after the young dogs caught it. And it
Well, John and George, you talked about that bear being aggressive and mean, and you've had bears that would single you out, and you could tell that they were mean bears. Do you think those bears genetically breed and raise other bears like them, and you get a pocket of bears that are that way, or is it just an isolated deal?
Bred. I think it's
I
bred.
yeah, I really don't know the answer to that. And I've noticed this time of year in general, and not talking about like human specific, but far as just grumpy bears, this time of year I get on more usually. But I think a lot of it's because they're starting to get, for our area, they're starting to hit that mode where they're wanting to lay up more, sleep more, and the dogs are trailing them. I mean, they're trailing, and they're jumping them right out of their beds, like right smack on top. And a lot of times the dogs have them caught within 150 yards, 200 yards. So that bear's still fresh. He's mad,
mm,
and maybe I might even be totally wrong. I don't know, but that's my
I
theory.
think maybe we go over Benny's house and roll him out of bed. See how grouchy he is.
it'd be like a
You have to
grizzly bear.
be in the
I, I think if my buddy says still on her, he will say that, and he's always told me because I don't consider myself a bear hunter. I just like to go with guys and really enjoy with the hounds. But Seth has told me in the past that he really enjoyed hunting that early season because you didn't run into mean bears. It didn't seem like you run into mean bears. He said it always seems like when December gets here, those bears get a little more like George said, get a little more grumpy because it's time to go find a hole, and they're starting to slow down. But that's something he's always told me. That he really enjoyed that chase season, early season hunt.
But and I've not caught a lot of bears. Back, a long time ago, I caught some, and me and Jr. in the same day, we caught a bear, and I mean, this sucker was mean. I mean, he was big too, and he didn't even climb very high up the tree. He just got a little ways up the tree and was popping his jaws and woofing and just sound terrible. And he tore one of my dogs up. And then we left him. Neither one of us wanted to shoot him, so we left. And then it was probably an hour and a half later, not very far from there, we treated another bear that was just as big as he was, and that bear climbed a tree and he fell asleep in the tree. He didn't even care what was going on.
Got to be some genetics in it. I've caught mean bears in August. Mean bears that don't care. They'll just walk along. Them dogs biting all over them. They'll turn around and swipe and just walk like they're not even there. It's like a cow with flies around it. There got to be some breed, just like dogs.
I've
If you
seen
got
I,
a real mean, gritty dog,
Yeah, to kind of go along with you, Chris, there might be something to the genetic thing, because I knew a week or so ago I caught dogs caught a sow, and I mean, she was just hateful. She never did tree, never treed the first time. But two of my dogs split off and had one of her, it was like a 30, 40 pound cub.
Mm.
That cub was crazy. It kept wanting to jump out of the tree. It was spidering all around like a squirrel. So maybe there is something to that.
Well,
That
genetics.
Well,
Look at how pleasant George and John are, and how grumpy me and Benny are.
I don't know if that's age or
Could be a
well,
little
well,
age.
could be.
what about cats? What about cats? Are there mountain lions that are more aggressive than others?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Especially those ones missing a nose or part of a jaw.
I don't know, and I know around Tucumcari, all the way up to the corner of the state, Logan, Mosquero, Roy. I've never, ever, ever seen a lion caught in that country that did not intend to harm the person.
Mm.
And I brought this up at one of our get-togethers one time, and I asked, "Has anybody ever seen the lion when they get focused and mad, and their eyes turn green?" And some yahoo that had drank too much just, they all got green eyes. Well, that's not what I'm talking about. It's a different color, and if
He's
you've
getting
ever
grumpy
seen,
again.
there you go. It's just,
His eyes are going green on us.
but the very first time that I was on a lion over there, that lion, once it heard my voice, it quit looking at the dogs and started focusing on me, and crouched down with her shoulder blades were the highest part of her body, and her tail went to ringing, and she
That
had
tail gets
every.
going like that.
And so there was another time that we caught a big tom lion over there, and he was up in a tree that was only maybe a 4-inch diameter tree in a real narrow canyon, and I was on one side of the canyon, Wesley was on the other side of the canyon. That lion couldn't get a good foothold in that tree, and Wesley was only 8 feet from the lion on that bluff. And I could hear over 11 dogs. I could hear that lion growling and carrying on, not hissing, but growling. And Wesley kept saying, "He wants to get on me. He wants to get on me." But I had a young dog um, that he could jump up there and grab that lion by the tail, and he'd hang on and slide down the tail, and then roll down the canyon, and he'd run back up there and do it again. And he kept that lion from getting on Wesley. But that every single lion in that country. Brett, you heard the story about Scotty Bittigan
I was
going
going to
down
say
in.
there was a pretty famous guy that also got in some kind of trouble or something too, but he got in a he got in a cave with a lion, and that lion ate him up, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Larry Webb and Scotty Bittigan were out hunting, and they looking for a lion because they had a client coming, and the dogs got this lion, and their country's full of cracks and holes in the rocks, and the dogs got down in there, and Scotty went down in there to get the dogs. Neither one of them had a gun, and that lion got a hold of Scotty and ate him up pretty bad. In fact, Larry thought Scotty was dead, and that dog, the lion didn't worry about the dogs that were down in that hole. He went past the dogs just to get a hold of Scotty.
Get a hold of And then I think it was Cleve Dwyer up in Nevada, up there. He had a lion. First, I think it was the first one he ever said that, or he said that he ever seen do this. Just stop and kill 2 or 3 of his dogs. Didn't bay up or anything. Just stop and kill the dogs.
Well,
I tell people
does
that all the time. If they want
does
to,
gender of the
yeah.
lion play a part? Like, is there usually more mean females or more mean toms?
In this country, every single lion that I've ever heard of and been around was exactly the same. And it's just uh, Joel Garnett is up in that country, and I've asked him, and he said every lion is that way. Um, Wesley Smith said every lion he's ever caught was that way. I just and I don't know what sets that particular piece of country apart because I've seen aggressive lions in other country where all the lions didn't behave that way. But in that piece of country, every single lion. And so there's got to be something in that genetic pool up there.
Is it a big alpha country where there's so many alpha male lions there that they're constantly at have competition constantly? If there's only
Well,
a couple lions and a bunch of females, there's not a whole lot of fighting going on. But if you have maybe more males, even the females, but
I've
if you have
been in
more
some of
males,
those
maybe it's
bars
just
like that.
yeah. All you got two pretty girls and a bunch of men, and there's gonna be a fight.
well, it's almost
You
like
know,
Benny's saying, though, that those lions are more intent on harming human than they are dogs.
yeah, because that first lion that I was on over there, it was in August, and it was a female, and she was just content to be up in that cottonwood tree and looking at those dogs over there. And she was, I don't know, 30 feet away from the trunk of the tree out on a limb. And the dogs were just treeing over there. They hadn't located her out there on that limb. And I was underneath her. And I was trying to hoot and holler at the dogs, hey, come over here and look up here. And it didn't take her very long to change her focus and start looking at me. And then her whole entire demeanor changed.
How many human interactions do they get up there though? Not like close to town, around Phoenix, around, you know,
No,
is there
yeah.
no none at all to where when they see it, they're not afraid of them?
Would
There's
that
a difference between not having any fear and being aggressive.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I know that those lions in that country, they didn't have a whole lot of pressure, and they didn't have a lot of interaction with people. But just wildlife in general used to have fear of people. Period. You know, was it last year? When was it that the guy in the canoe or the kayak or whoever it was over there on the reservation on the San Carlos, the lion came up in the daytime and got right in the middle of their camp.
Yeah.
And at that time that was just this last summer, wasn't it? Or spring?
I don't know. Never read it.
Chris, you don't remember that?
I read something about like I seen it on the internet pop up. I might have even shared it on one of my fake books.
But I think this last year there were 4 or 5 lion human interactions in Arizona.
Well, concluders, what do you got to say in conclusion, Mr. Benny?
I want to have a get together where my phone doesn't act retarded, and
Okay.
I would love, I would love to talk dog genetics.
Get your
Oof.
paperwork out. Let's talk it.
Yep.
Be ready.
I just think that that's why I asked about the lions and because for what Brett and I did and Brett does, and you know hunting lions in this bare southwestern desert, it takes a different dog than hunting lions in the bare ground where it's all pine trees and and elevation changes and all that stuff matters, and so genetics matter, and then if you go and you want to hunt a specific animal without, like, the last time I had dogs, or the last 20 years that I had dogs, they didn't even acknowledge a bear track. It could be a hot bear track and they just walk right past it.
Was that
So
genetics or was that training?
a little bit of both,
Hmm.
in my view, because I had dogs that I got from but their dogs didn't acknowledge that too.
Yeah.
So it
Maybe
was
we need to get Elizabeth on for that.
a game
She hunts both.
specific. And I'm not saying the dogs aren't capable because of switching back and forth, because I've known people that did it. But for game specific, I went to specific lines and genes.
George,
That's it.
concluders?
Uh,
When are you done
we
bear hunting?
so I reckon the conclusion would be today. It's been a nice break. I took a break off of hunting today in the truck,
You do
and
look
then
tired.
Wait, did you have to
yeah,
go to work?
I had to work on my truck.
Oh,
It was getting pretty rough. The brakes didn't half work half the time. It was wanting to quit all the time. Yeah.
Have,
So
have we
anyway,
got
got the
brakes?
truck.
have
We
they
got
ever
Have we
worked?
brakes.
got brakes now? Have we got brakes now,
I,
George?
yeah, we're good
Okay,
to go.
good.
So I'll give tomorrow. The high is going to be in the, I think, 29 or 30 or something. So I'm gonna give the dogs one more day break, and then they'll be ready to roll again.
John, give us
So
a good word to send us through our week.
Good word. Hey, Christmas is coming up. Just realize what the reason for the season is,
There you
and
go.
the reason for the season is our Lord and Savior. Can I be mean to Benny now? I want to be
Yeah,
pick on Benny.
he's right up
I'm all
above him.
for it.
He's right up above you. He's poking. He's looking down on you.
Mm.
What? This, I just got to say this because you talk about how grumpy he is all the time, and I just noticed something tonight with that mustache he's got. Do y'all know who the Lorax is?
Yeah.
Do you see it, Brett? Do you see it?
Oh,
I
hold
seen it
on.
right when you said it. Oh, here we go.
And the
Let me.
only
Hey,
reason it's
Benny,
on
you
my
remember
mind is
this,
because
Benny? Who said that?
a guy at work mentioned the Lorax this past week, so I just had to say it.
Hey,
Y'all
Johnny,
see it now with his mustache.
Johnny, why did Seth say Bart?
Uh, that's a nickname,
Oh,
but
maybe your wife needs to tell us this.
no. It's just a guy that I worked with. A guy that I worked with. He was actually my supervisor. He just started calling me Bart. That was just a nickname, and there's Benny. Does anybody else see that besides me?
Oh man.
The Lorax.
Yeah.
Oh my.
I'm gonna have to order that. I'm gonna have to order
Yeah.
that little stuffed toy and send it to Benny now, ain't I?
I think we're gonna make a hat. I think we're gonna make a hat with that. Benny, call it the
You
Benny.
remember if y'all remember the Lorax was a grumpy guy. That's the reason. That's
Yep.
the reason that made me think about it. He was a
Yep.
grumpy old guy in Dr. Seuss's book to start out with. But um, no, it's just a nickname that the guy I worked with. He said I look like Bart Simpson, but I don't know. I think with my bald head, I probably look more like Homer than I did Bart. But for whatever reason, and
You.
another one of my buddies, Dusty, that I bear hunted with. He bear hunts with Seth, and that's just in that group. I'm either known as Bart or the preacher, one or the other.
The preacher. You are our spiritual leader from now on here on the podcast. Willie, you can't believe anything they say on that Houndsman XP.
Absolutely nothing.
No, I appreciate it. I'm gonna have to listen to it now. Jeez.
I know. Was that a recent one? It
I
must be
want-
a recent one.
I want that Louisiana hunting guy to listen to it too.
Yeah. There you go, Jeremy. You better listen.
Chris, remind him about that. Chris did a really good live podcast type thing last week. Tell him about it, Chris. Tell him to go watch it.
Well, Dan
Listen,
Gates
it was
did a
good.
podcast. Dan Gates, that guy. So Colorado has Initiative 91 going on. They're trying to. They did the same thing they did in Arizona. And have they hit New Mexico yet with that? Trying to just get rid of lion hunting and bear hunting altogether, or not bear, lion and bobcat, and they always put Canadian lynx or
No,
Canada
but
lynx. It's not Canadian.
I, they're working on getting rid of the coyote hunting, so that's a good start.
Oh yeah, that way the deer population really goes up.
Yeah.
That's so. Anyways, Dan Gates, he's kind of a real down to earth guy. He's not a politician, but he knows his crap. When it comes to that, if you go to SaveTheHuntColorado.com, every hunter needs to donate to this cause because once they're done with it, they're going to hit Arizona, New Mexico, Utah. They're going to go after Utah next. But Dan Gates, you go check him out at Save the Hunt. We did a podcast on Anecdote of a Houndsman, and he goes through the whole thing.
It's a good.
You just go to.
I'd call it a podcast, but it's a video podcast
It is.
live on YouTube.
Yeah, and the guy, I didn't do nothing. The guy just goes into detail, asked a few questions, and he just clarified everything. And I don't care if you're a deer hunter. I don't care if you're a bear hunter, quail hunter, a fisherman. You think they don't get rid of hunting? They're not going to come after fishing? They're just going to
Poor
keep
fish.
going. Yeah, poor fish. They get hooked up, released.
Well,
So
see,
SaveTheHuntColorado.com.
Well, I'll tell you this: my niece's husband, which I'm really close with him, he went to Colorado a few years ago, and he said that there wasn't anybody out there really that didn't detest hunting. But the only reason that Colorado kept any type of hunting there was because there was so much money that come into Colorado, especially from the East Coast, from people wanting to come into elk hunt and from elk hunting really in general. But he said you could tell that the locals did not like you being there and did not like you hunting.
Well, the local,
Well.
it's just like Arizona. You know, you got a lot of guys from New Mexico coming over in Colorado when it's our season, and they're whacking everything they can that first week, shutting it down.
Well, no, he's
Benny.
talking about just,
Everybody loves
just
Benny
hunting,
coming over.
just hunting in general because they were so,
Yeah.
lack of a better term, liberal. They just didn't agree with hunting at all, so they didn't like them being there.
Well, that's why the Humane Society of the United States hits all those states. And right now, Utah's next. So anybody who thinks that whatever Colorado's going to don't affect you, you're kind of a moron because it just bleeds over. And if they go in there and if you donate money and they fight it, they have a guideline of how to beat them. And if they take this guy that raised all this money and he comes over to Arizona and does the same thing, they're going to start thinking twice before they go to New Mexico or Utah or Nevada, whatever you want to call it.
Just look what they've done in California. That's good enough.
Oh, that's what I say. That's why I try to tell people. You guys didn't learn your lesson. Like, you're not learning your lesson. But this Dan Gates said they need $3 to $5 million to fight it. He wants to earn $10 million. And out of the 6 million hunters in the United States, if 1 million of them donated $10, they'd have enough. They'd have some left over. So when they hit Utah, they could do it. So SaveTheHuntColorado.com. Donate $1, man. Donate $10. It don't take much. If you can't do it, I'm not a speaker. I'm not going to go up to the Capitol. I'd rather be hunting. And if you'd rather be hunting, donate $100. You spend that on sodas and McDonald's, making yourself fat.
I donated $100. My AdSense from this channel for last month. So
Timothy, was it Brink? No, there's another Timothy. Donated. He did a super chat for $120.
Yeah.
And dang fly. And so that's $100 to them and my $100. So I think I got those guys $300-400 just off my. It ain't much, but it's something. You know, them lawyers that are gonna fight it, they know what's up.
yeah,
So
maybe after I don't know, after some time, you talk to him. Maybe he can come on this one too. Maybe we'll get a little bit or bigger footprint.
he'll jump on. He'll come on. This guy is busy. He didn't go. He was on my last Wednesday. He couldn't come on the Wednesday before because he couldn't cancel with Steve Ranella to come on my show. kind of hurt my feelings. I don't know what that's about.
Dang
And then,
Yankee.
I guess, yeah, meat eater.
Yankee.
It ain't no anecdote of a houndsman, but they could try. Of course, I'm not on Houndsman XP getting bragged about either.
Well, next thing you know, that guy will be on Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Yep. But I am your right-hand man as you look at it on the screen.
This is my right hand here.
Yeah. Not if
I'll
I'm
be
looking at the
right-hand
screen. This is my right hand too. But
It's all
if
backwards.
you're looking at the
Oh,
screen,
yeah, that's true. This thing does it backwards.
Step back, Johnny. Step back, Johnny. Don't try to pull that right hand, man.
All right.
Hey,
Well, cool.
one more-
What
Yeah.
else? Anybody have anything else?
So
I
I'm
think
curious.
I think we ought to try to get the young guy I talked to you before about Brett Bowe on here from West Virginia Houndsman, just because he's a bear hunter, but he just also recently come to Santa Fe and killed a cat with his dogs.
Cool. Set it up.
Well, I've got his number. We just have to
Yeah.
see when you want to get him on. So
Whenever you just give me his number and whatever, and talk to him, and I just got to send him a link, and that's anybody that's out there watching. We got 53 people on here now. If you have something to add and you don't make me or Benny very mad, we'll put you on here.
Louisiana honey.
I've had to answer. Now, in defense of my little short-temperedness there for a minute, I had to answer some terrible comments today on one of my videos, and I was a little touchy. So
Benny
sorry.
has something to say. Benny
Sorry.
does. Benny,
So
you
were
know,
talking-
Brett. Oh, go ahead.
and it took 7 days ago. Brett, how much money has come in for your Jaguar?
That's where I was going with this, Benny. You got to sell Brett because he ain't gonna do it.
All
Well,
right. So, for those that don't know, Brett has had a guy reach out to him, Tony Rivera,
yes.
and he is, I would venture to say that he has caught more jaguars with dogs than anyone alive today. He's in his 70s. He's down there in the Nayarit, Mexico, in the jungles, and he has reached out to Brett, and he wants Brett to go down there. Brett just has to get to Rocky Point or Puerto Penasco, Mexico, and it'll cost Brett. He says $1,000, so you can figure it'll
$500 each way.
Yeah, so it'll cost $1,200 to $1,500 so that he can get some kind of fire extinguisher relief from the chilies that they grow down there.
I was gonna
But-
say a lot of roll-ups.
This guy wants to tell his story to Brett. He wants
Personally,
to be
ask for Brett.
personally ask for Brett, and I personally have volunteered to go along as the mule, and I'll fund my own deal. You just fund Brett, but for
We'll
anybody
split it.
that's
We'll split the expenses, Benny. We'll split the expenses.
all right. So anyway, this deal, there is not another opportunity to see how they hunt jaguars because this guy's doing it for the government now and studying
Still
them
doing it.
and still doing it. And we hear all of these things, and anybody that's read the book on Dale Lee, they can see all the pictures and all of that. That's really cool. That's, and I've known some guys that went down there in the past, but you can only go down there and kill jaguars today if you want to risk federal time in prison. But this is an opportunity, and it costs money. And it's like I said a week ago, I know all the stuff that Brett has because I had to pack part of it into Warner Glenn's house, and that stuff doesn't come cheap. And so you guys want to see this, pony up. That's all.
How can we do this? How can we do this, Brett?
Well, let me hold on.
Take it over, Brett.
We throw them under the bus every time when we do this.
I've had an offer. I tell you what, I've had an offer from to take what I do in these lives and turn them over to a podcast, and and they'll pay me per episode. So, but I have to make a commitment. I mean, I have to commit to the 4 episodes a month, and then whatever else I can do, at least 4 episodes a month, whether it's these lives where we're talking, or me going out and interviewing someone, which is, what I like to do too. These are fun. And these kind of evolved out of us just all getting together and talking YouTube, really. And it evolved from that, and it's turned into something I enjoy. I enjoy the heck out of it. But I also like the fact that I can just say, "Hey, Chris, I'm not going to be here Monday. You take it over," and Chris does it. And I don't know. I don't know about being committed to something, every Monday night, or to say, it starts to sound like a job. You got to be here. You got to provide, 4 or 5 pieces of content a month. So I got to think about that. And then one of the thing I thought about too with the format of this, is having regular segments, regular guests. Like George comes on. He's the bear hunter from where we're down south, and then Chris comes on. I listened to Chris with that Gates guy. He's real good with the legislative stuff. Somebody keep track of that. And then I talked to Jason Doobie. Jason said he could come on and kind of give us a little synopsis of what's coming out in Full Cry, or what he's got going on there. John could say a good word. He could.
I think Brett just said I don't add nothing. I think it's really
No.
Oh no.
No, we could have our.
I'm gonna cry when we get off.
No, John,
Tell
we
your
need
wife to
you.
video it.
We need
so we can
need
watch.
you. And then Benny, the dry ground lion hunter from way back, and the grumpy guy, he's entertaining. But you know what I mean? But it could be a little more organized. I would love to get people from other podcasts. Say, come on, let us know. Talk about the podcast you got coming out this week. Put the word out. Yeah, Tuesday we're talking to hog hunters from whatever. Just come on for a little 10-minute section. Just and that way it gets the word out to maybe hopefully a larger group of people. But I don't know. It's just something I got to think about. It's a heck of a commitment, and if I do it, I want to do it right.
And you could turn these into podcasts and post them yourself.
Well, yeah, that's what I do anyway. I post them all. I'm trying to figure out how to do this. I was going to share this guy. Tony wrote a book, and he sent it to me in a. It's not been published yet. He sent it to me in
digital form.
Yeah, a Word. In Word.
Basically, Brett spends a lot of money doing these interviews. Even when you're just driving around New Mexico, you're $500 in the hole. Fuel, food, hotels.
Yeah.
Unless you're camping in your fancy tent in your truck.
Well, yeah, that's what.
But he ain't driving a Prius.
No, a Tesla. No, I'm not driving a Tesla.
A Tesla truck.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I enjoy doing it, and I've probably got 4 or 5 guys, older gentlemen that have been down the road and hunted a lot, and I like to hear their stories, and I think it's important to share stuff like that, but we'll see. We'll see one of these days.
Mexico, that's the important trip, because this guy's already 70s. You can't
73 years old.
You can't wait years to do this. This has to happen pretty dang quick, I think.
Yes.
It
only takes one Jaguar to get away, get at Tony.
And I think it's cool that he asked for Brett himself to come tell his story.
I think there was somebody who gave him my name. I forget who it was. Probably was it you, Benny, or
I don't know him.
might have been Cody King.
Maybe. That sounds like someone Cody would know.
Yeah.
Where's Cody?
I think he's in
Is
Mexico.
he too busy?
That guy, he hunts
You seen
and he
his-
works,
Oh.
and he hunts and he
No, you
works.
seen his dog kennels? Holy
Oh,
moly!
man.
You should post a picture of his. Dog kennels cost more than my house.
Somebody tell me what happened to Nicholas.
I think
Chris?
he's working a lot, and his wife's doing some projects. I think he gets
He-
really busy and overwhelmed.
He
Or
texted
he just
me
hates
earlier.
us.
I got to text him back because he's mailing me a couple copies of his book. So
Yeah. No, he's just been busy, and he keeps saying he don't have enough bandwidth, so maybe he has internet that's not.
always
I don't
having
know.
internet trouble.
I know he's hunting. I know he's trying to make videos still, but I think he's just really busy.
I haven't
Maybe where
seen-
where he works is maybe it's that time of year. I think he just got really busy, or he just hates us all. Who knows?
He just, maybe his employer said that wasn't a good idea for him to be coming on these podcasts.
Maybe we never said who he worked for. Really?
We all know.
No. We all know.
Can we say?
Actually, I don't know, to be honest with you.
I wouldn't say unless someone wants to super chat $100. Then we might let it slip in a personal email.
Slip for a couple hundred.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Brett got to go to Mexico. I want to hear that one. I want to see that one. And you might get to go on some lion, some jaguar hunts with them and do some little video on. Be like a double dipper there.
Talking about Nico, I'm actually working on getting my hands on a bobcat here. I got some buddies that do a lot of predator trapping, and if I can get my hands on a bobcat, we're going to cook it. So
He said he's working on his dogs.
I know he was
He's
elk
busy
hunting
working
last
with his
week.
dogs. I messaged him the other day and asked where he's been.
He was elk hunting the other day, and then he said he's been running dogs in the rain and deer hunters out there and elk hunters out there.
oh,
I asked him if he was videoing. He said he was videoing. You know what happened? He got his little dog box, fancy dog box built. And now we're nothing.
Oh, hold on, guys.
Uh-oh.
Speaking
Yep,
of dog boxes,
you got to
Hey,
throw up
it's
your little.
Brett, I knew that he knew a lot about that stuff, but I didn't realize that.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
told you.
Oh yeah.
Let's pay some bills. It's a new one. That's another new one.
I just bought a little saddle horn backpack at the swap meet for $10, and it's Mountain Ridge. That Mountain Ridge gear.
Oh, really? Yeah, they make some. I like it. It's not old
Yeah.
cowboy stuff, but it's tough. And
I
it
had a
lasts good.
scope. I had a phone scope company reach out to me
Really?
and wanna send me a phone scope to use and see if I like it.
Cool.
They
No,
see me-
everyone. Now, every single one of those sponsors didn't reach out to me. I contacted them because I liked their stuff. And and my dog box is almost done. They called me today from Old South, and it's probably going to cost me a fortune to get it shipped from where they're at to here. But I'm anxious to get it.
You
from
don't
my
got nobody
buggy.
to interview back there?
Yeah, on the way, there's a couple I could
Mhm.
stop and interview. That that would be pretty good. But we'll see. So anyway, guys,
Wow. I'm looking at these Johnnies, these Timothys on here. They're talking to me. Timothy Brink, I'd love to get out to Oregon sometime
Oh God.
if I can get out there.
There's Timothy DeBoard. He's the one that
Yeah,
chipped in $120 right there. That guy.
all
said he was
right.
on Firefox.
Mhm.
Yep, they're in Louisiana. Yeah.
Yeah, Jeremy. Jeremy should like buy you dinner for all that crap he talked about you.
More than
I
dinner.
can't believe he said all that mean stuff.
Right here on the internet.
And I called him a friend. I have to block his phone number now.
Still picking.
I'm gonna get some texts here in a second.
They call those guys down there coon asses from Louisiana.
They're either coon ass or Cajun. You can't be both.
Oh, you can't be?
I think like the Hatfields and McCoys, it wouldn't work.
If Benny says so, it's what it is.
Did you hear the peanut gallery?
No.
I heard something back there.
That's what we're planning on doing, Timothy, somehow. All right.
What?
What?
I've never heard that term before.
Coon ass?
Yeah.
My ex-wife's mother and father lived there in Louisiana, and I thought it was a bad term. I mean, but it's not. It's just what they call each other. So
I didn't. What's the definition of it?
just someone from those swamps, I think. I don't know.
Oh,
But they're not.
he said
Cajun.
he's neither.
Neither.
Yeah, I don't. That's what they called each other down there. I don't know.
I'm sure we've called each other worse around here.
Oh yeah, I didn't look at it. I thought it was like something that was nice. I don't know.
No, it
Bit of
is.
Louisiana.
It's a people group. It is a people there.
It is a what?
George, when you putting out another video?
It's a people group,
No.
Brett.
Yeah.
Just like Cajuns, and and the Cajuns have the French influence, and I think the Coonasses are more, and I don't know. I'd have to.
There he goes. He's off again. But yeah, it doesn't mean anything bad. Look at George is gone now too.
Yeah, mine froze up for a second.
It's probably
Mine
they
froze.
probably think we're
Probably
Say-
YouTube saying you guys need to get off.
probably saying they probably think we're saying something bad.
A coon ass. It's triggering the AI.
Yeah, we're not. It's
Time
not.
to go, guys. Enough.
It's not. I would never say anything that I thought was bad. I'm careful. Anyway.
This one
sorry.
just got demonetized.
I don't monetize these because if you run ads during the broadcast, everybody complains because I guess there's big gaps or something where YouTube will just step in and run an ad.
Louisiana hunting. I'm a redneck, so didn't realize that's what they were.
Oh,
in
they are the
Louisiana.
rednecks. Yeah, when I was down there, that's what they called each other. So I just joined right in. Anyway, guys,
Yep.
thank you.
Time to go.
Thank you for coming on. And George, speaking of that, when are you going to get a video? You just quit?
He's too
Yes.
busy.
I'm hunting daylight till close to dark about every day. So I ain't had. Usually, about the time I get home, I'm ready to crash, get in bed, and then get up 4:30, 5 o'clock, and try it again.
Well, okay.
So, but yeah, no, our season will go. Virginia season will go the end of December. So after that, I'll be ready to roll.
And then you're going to be just have videos come out all year round.
Yes, sir. Basically, I've got piles of footage. I'm still in last year's footage, so if I don't watch, I'm gonna get 2 years behind.
There you go. All right, guys. Thank you very much.
All righty.
Appreciate it. We'll see you next time.